welcome. What you're seeing here is a pipe vine swallowtail butterfly on some lemon bee balm or horse mint, and here we have a gorgeous budding magnolia tree. Each curl of its stigmas have a sticky coating which helps them capture pollen. And here we have a plant called Shower of Gold, native to eastern Mexico. Our next plant is my personal favorite. It's a desert willow which attracts pollinators such as hummingbirds, and we are at the edge of its range map here in Houston. Our next tree is actually not native to this area. It's the lilac chaste tree or monk's pepper. It is introduced, and this little yellow guy is a trailing daisy. But going back to our lilac tree, this is actually native to the Mediterranean region. Lastly, we have our very beautiful, very fragrant star jasmine, also introduced from Southeast Asia. And let's keep learning at this community event.
The little fish are eating little plant material, phytoplankton and stuff.
So I was, last time I took bird photos at the Exploration Green, I was at phase 3, and one of the
Limkin? Yeah.
All right, 49. This bird right here, very funny looking bird. We know all.
Distracted by a chickadee. We're going to talk about the class that I just finished at Glassell Art School, which is the art school associated with the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. I just finished the first class that I have ever taken with them, and it was a ton of fun. A lot of learning. It was 2D design, and so yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into just like a general recap of all the projects from this spring semester. Welcome to Kristen Draws, where Kristen, draw, and today where Kristen, recap a semester's worth of projects. These are all of my projects for the entire semester. So here we go. The first project, we were tasked with figuring out a shape that could work in both its positive and negative shape as a repeating pattern. And we were to do this with ink, pure India ink on paper. So you're seeing right now just like my sketches of figuring out like, okay, what solid filled in shape has a clear silhouette. I played around with like some influence of Picasso, because who doesn't love Picasso? It is a star shape taken from Islamic art that is essentially just two squares laid on top of each other. And then these, also Picasso and Carlos Merida, like inspired by other artists throughout history. I did end up trying to do something with this, which you're about to see, but ultimately those are just a little too complex for this particular assignment. I was playing around with organic shape. None of these really worked out. I did mock up some of these only to figure out that, hey, these are really ambiguous and just hard to understand like what they actually are. So I took a bunch of shapes into the Sketchbook app, finalized their outline, and then, fill dropped them in. And you can see here just a bunch printed out. This is one of those organic shapes that I just mentioned is really kind of ambiguous. Like this is a leaf. But it's just not very clear. This guy is one of our final decisions, one of our final shapes that did end up becoming part of the project. So this bird design worked out somewhat well. You're going to see that in a second. Again, some of the others that are just too complex for the size, even though I really like these. I really like the negative space of the ear on this and the little top hat. These are fun, but for this particular project, they just you know, they just weren't gonna totally work out. But now that I'm looking at them again, I do think it would be kind of fun to play with these a little bit more. And I think I have an idea for these two things specifically. The wild horse, so yeah, another organic shape, some more organic shapes that just are like, what is that? So this guy was really tough. I feel like I should put our hand behind it. There we go, that's clearer. As you can imagine, that tail is really delicate. And ultimately there is just too much going on with this shape. Bird. And my least favorite, the whale. I was married to this idea, y'all. I was married to it, and it fell apart in my hands. So the next step was to do our practice sheets. Just, you know, copy with a pencil, copy, and then do saturation tests. Oh my goodness, where's my brain today? In too many places. So like full saturation, mid saturation, very light saturation. So just diluting the pure India ink. And this right here, y'all, this is a hot mess. Practice sheets for our whale, practice sheet for our dolphin, and practice sheet for our bird. Dolphin is just far too generic for me. And if it has a nice rhythm with that C shape. So moving on past our practice sheets, the actual final pattern, repeating pattern. You are just, first you're setting a grid here and just going, you know, one trace, filling in with the ink. And every row you want to do some sort of flipping. You can see that this final pattern is just kind of like a straight diagonal, which is not very dynamic. Ultimately, the feedback that I got on this project, which I think is totally valid, is if these tail feathers were a little bit longer, they would meet in this negative space and you'd have a more interesting design that wasn't just feeling straight down to, you know, from the left to the right of the page, just diagonal straight. Like, that's not very dynamic. We get a little closer with the whales. If this had just been turned ever so slightly, you can imagine this would be turned just so slightly, and this would be turned just so slightly this way. You'd connect that tail and the head just a little bit more, and you'd have what would essentially be a, like, this kind of, not me just like making hand motions in front of the camera. You'd have essentially this. You'd have this down the page. And the dolphin does do it better. You know, we do get tail, fin, tail, fin, tail, fin. Still a little bit too much space in here, but you can see that S, you can see it emerge a little bit more. This was like full MC Escher deep dive, rabbit hole at this point, and I was like, oh, I'll draw him over and over again, and then I'll paint him in color, and I'll leave this in black and white. What was going through my mind? I don't know. A fun shape, but you can clearly see here, after just the repetition of a few of them, how these legs become way too distracting. The next project was also with ink still. This time we are moving into dip pen. Tests of hatching, dark to light, cross hatching, dark to light, stippling, oh my Jesus Christ, like, This right here, the patience. This method is fabulous, right? Like, and you can see, even in these 4 bands, like, the result is awesome. If you have the patience to get there, more power to you. I do not. And then this last one is just a kind of like scribble. We are essentially finding images in magazines and trying to recreate a section of them. And so the goal here is to find an image where the texture is really kind of rich and that we can, you know, fill in the space. My favorite is the chickpeas. I love this one. I probably could have done more on the chickpea itself. I can see my fear here in like overdoing it, because right, with ink, like there's no eraser, there's no going back. Like once the ink is there, it's there, and it's like, okay, it's very permanent. It's a very permanent medium to work in. I wouldn't describe it as necessarily forgiving. The bottle here with the water droplets. This was kind of one of my first attempts at using stippling to elicit this texture, and I can see that it's the first attempt because it's not very good. The rocks, oh my god, kill me. I just could not figure this one out. And you know, this was probably the one that was the most fun, probably because it was the most clear to me of like, okay, let me make dots along this line, and that's it. I really struggled with the hair. This is supposed to be pure hatching, and what I was struggling with was like, okay, I'm hatching down here. Hatching is just drawing one line over and over again, like so. And I would run into the line up here, and then it would look like a crosshatch rather than just a hatch. And so had tough times with this one. Basically, we take this sheet and we go to this, in which we are now trying to take those patterns and do a sort of dark to light with them. A challenge, folks, a real challenge. Okay. What was I thinking? It's so ambiguous. It is so like, what is happening, right? In fact, you can see in my scribbles, I'm just like, where are the shapes? Someone help. Like, but here you can see the stippling with the water droplets on our like can of Sprite, or not can, I guess, a glass of Sprite, glass of pop, soda, wherever you're from. This ended up pretty cool. And I don't hate the sequence either. The sequence I got in a pretty good rhythm with. This is like, you know, part of a fashion imagery, and like it's like a bunch of tiny little sequence over and over again. This was okay. This was from a pottery magazine. And again, our chickpeas, we like it. The hair, just, I had to redo it. Like, this was maybe my 5th attempt. Very first row was really fun. I think this is like a whiskey ad, maybe, and it's like whiskey pouring out of a glass, and this was just kind of cool. There was a lot of imagining of like, what would the pattern become over this space. Wasn't my favorite. Did I love it? No. Did I learn a lot? Yes. Did I force myself to do something that I would have never done otherwise? Also, yes. For assignment number 3, we had to take an image of ourselves. Like horror is, I guess, a genre that people were taking inspiration from. I'm not a, you may have guessed, I don't love horror as a genre. I took inspiration from Georgia O'Keeffe, from the Alfred Stieglitz photography of Georgia O'Keeffe, and just some other like trendy Pinterest black and white photography of like women in hats. And so not a lot of depth there, but it was just, okay, what can I do that's a little bit truer to me and still gives value contrast, because that is the point of this assignment. So my attempts here to make sense of this image in color, nonsense. Just go over the image and break it down into basic shapes. Here I am defining the shapes. What I end up doing with this is like taking another image of this, redefining a map of each square and labeling clearly 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, with 5 being black, again, 4 being our dark gray, 3 as a midtone, 1 white, and 2 light gray. We've got our pastel Winsor Newton paper where here's our number 5, 4, 3, yes, 3, 2, and 1. This map, these squares are 2 inches by 2 inches, right? So let's take a different one that is a lot more straightforward. Let's take this top corner. So we got 2 inch by 2 inch here. And the next step in this project is to scale this little bad boy up. And that is where this comes in. The quote unquote final map. So here we've got another set of squares where these are scaled up by an inch, I do believe. Right? Is this 2? Yeah, this is 2 by 2. Yes. 2 by 2, and this is 3 by 3. And the goal here is to be able to train yourself at scaling by eye. So I'm looking at this and I need this to be, scaled onto this slightly bigger square. And so just by eye, I'm like, okay, I think this line starts, here and arches up to this part. And then I sketch in those other shapes just by estimation. This whole map gets created somewhat painstakingly. This whole bottom row is just totally changed and edited. Like, I had a flower on my dress that I wanted to incorporate. And, here it totally got lost. And I thought, well, we'll just stick a flower in there, right? Like, that's just a sort of real-time edit to our project here. There are a whole bunch of methods for how to do this. My very complicated method was to just take a soft graphite pencil, so like a 7B, 6B, just something that is going to get you like this layer of graphite that will easily come off. Why? Because that is going to transfer to our paper, to our pastel black and white paper. Hard to tell, but the point is that these are not just flat. There is a sort of buildup here where this right here, the black, is below these other lighter colors, and that's what makes it look as seamless as what it is because you're building up from dark to light and you're pasting each shape on top of that base of black. I'm gonna stop blabbing about this because I could go on for a very long time, and the reality is that this project was, I feel, the most complicated of the entire semester. Okay, project number 4 was a master's study. The longest time ever, I hated the idea of master's studies, and then I did a couple, and I was like, oh, this is super useful. Like, this is actually really great to do from time to time, right? I will not be devoting myself to master studies on the regular, okay? And this is so low res and like doesn't quite capture the actual color of the painting, which is relevant because that is what this whole project is about. So This is about color mixing and learning how to mix with a very, very limited range of watercolors. We have 6 of them, and we've got our cool lemon yellow hue, cadmium yellow warm, so our cool and our warm yellow. Then we have our blues, cool and warm. Apparently there's debate about this, but this is the cool. And this is the warm. Ultramarine, I think. I do believe. Yes. See, sometimes I get confused. Because, all right, like blues are blues. And your mind doesn't tell you that one is warm because it's blue. Or maybe that's just me. And last but not least, our cool and warm red. Our cadmium red hue is our warm. Crimson hue is our cool. Again, a little bit confusing. Like I was getting actively confused when I was doing the color mixing of these. And so basically the whole point of this assignment is to figure out, okay, how much range can I have with just these bad boys? Just phthalo cool blue, ultramarine warm, cool yellow, warm red, cool red. This painting that we are trying to emulate here is very dark. And so I was trying to like elicit like how am I going to get these dark values out of just these colors. And I will say these bottom rows here, I mean all of it truly, but especially these, super useful in figuring out, oh, how can I get these like kind of rusty purplish browns out of just this. And like I would not have known how to get here from these paints had I not done this. And basically what we're doing is we're taking like the mid value here of phthalo and lemon yellow, and we're introducing it on this end to cadmium warm. So warm red. And I will say this page is misleading because I did add another variable, permanent rose. I needed this because, as you can maybe see, there are some very bright pinks in here. And this is our final master study. Happy. Very, very happy, to be completely honest. This is about as best as what I can hope for a master study in watercolor when the original painting was probably done in oil. Also, you know, master studies are master studies, meaning you're copying. And so, like, to give up the idea that it will be this great thing and this super satisfying thing at the end that you'll walk away with like, oh, I created this and it's my vision. No, it's not your vision. Like it's someone else's vision, and you are learning, you're trying to put yourself in their shoes for a very temporary amount of time to understand how these darks were mixed and how putting them next to other colors works on the page. And how then you can take that knowledge and, like, you know, bring it back to your own work. And that is, I think, the real point of a master study. I like how, you know, things didn't get muddied in the way that they so often can with watercolor. So the fact is that I worked on this over, you know, the course of a few weeks, and I think that that is a win. That taught me some stuff about watercolor and color mixing, how this like darker purplish just blends and creates a kind of lost edge here. Really happy with that. Next up, final project. Okay, yes, it's found. This is our final. we were to take a 5x4 square and create a design. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this and I'm like, God, I did this so backwards. The point was to create a design, like imagine another square over here and you draw it here and then you'd cut it in 4s, and that was the repetition. I basically did the exact opposite, where I like took this tiny square in here and cut this in 4 and just left the bird in the center. That was not the intention. And so that is why, again, we have a little bit of a stamp going on here of just like bird, bird, bird. And I just had a good time laying that ink over the watercolor. That was super satisfying. So like the way this project was supposed to be done is, imagine if this bird was here where the berry is instead, and then you would cut it, and then that would be the thing that would repeat, right? Instead of the berry. And just like ink testing. I love a good test page, you know, like look at this fun test page. I think that is so fun. Like, I think this little page could be a print of its own. And I love what's happening here with like little watercolor swatch, and the separation of color and then the ink on top. Like, tooting my own horn right now. And I'm gonna stop talking because I have been talking for a literal eternity. Your girl is tired. So thank you for just coming along. We're a little bit of a hot mess right now. Thank you for coming along and seeing every single project that I worked on this spring. Again, this was a spring semester course from late January, early Feb, maybe February, somewhere in there, through the beginning of May at Glassell Art School with the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. This particular class was 2D design, and yeah, I loved it. I learned a massive amount in a very short time. Well worth it, I think. The next class that I will be taking at this fine institution is actually not a class. I think it's a workshop. It is a printmaking workshop in which I am going to screen print. I'm so excited. Like I've already gone down the YouTube rabbit hole of screen printing, and I'm like, Kristen, resist the urge to go purchase a screen like a mad woman, you know? Like I don't have any room for a screen to screen print in this tiny space, y'all, okay? But know that the urge is there, like, and I'm sure it's gonna be there even more after I do it in the studio. Like, I will probably try to do something similar. Like I might share little bits along the way, but then like when it's over, do a recap as best as I can in this similar fashion. So if you've liked this, look out for that. We're giving future Kristen a lot of work. Birds and all, it's always birds. It's always a bird. So if you are a birder, an Audubon Society lover, you're a Cornell student, or you're just in love with the bird song, you can always count on, like, no matter what Kristen's doing, there'll be a bird. That's a promise. That's a lifelong promise. Okay, I'm gonna end this.